Hello everyone, and welcome to another traditional story. I just kept out of the way to start with so that you can see all the different letters, all the letters of the alphabet, because we've finished our memory games. We've done all the 26 letters and I've got all of them up on the wall. Anyway, our story today is, as I say, another traditional story, and it's called The Pied Piper of Hamelin. Hamelin is a little town, a little village in Germany a long time ago, and I think pied means somebody who's wearing a coat of possibly many colours, or a coat made out of different materials. So one day, one of the villagers in Hamelin woke up and went into their kitchen and went, "Ah!" Why did they do this? Had they burnt the toast? Were the beans on fire? No. They went, "Ah!" because sitting in the middle of her kitchen was a rat. Ugh. She opened the door, she got a broom and she swept the rat out into the village green, and then she closed her door and she rushed over to one of her friends and she knocked on the door, and the friend opened the door and she said, "Oh, there was a rat in my kitchen." And her friend said, "Oh my goodness, do you know what? There was a rat in my kitchen as well." So the two of them went to somebody else's house and knocked on the door, and their friend opened the door and went, "Oh, hello, what is it?" And they said, "Oh, we've got rats in our kitchen." And the friend said, "Oh dear, so have I." They went round every house on the village green and they found that everybody had rats in their kitchen. There was a bit of a plague. What were they going to do? They tried sweeping them out of the houses. They tried hitting them on the heads, but they just couldn't get rid of them. Not long after that, they were all assembled on the village green when they saw a strange figure approaching. As it was a little village, they knew everybody, but they didn't know this person. It was a man dressed in a long, colourful jacket, playing a pipe, playing a little flute. By way of introduction, he said, "Hello," and they all said, "Oh, hello." And he said, "But what's the problem here?" And they said, "Oh, well, we've got a bit of a plague of rats. Everybody's got rats in their houses." And he said, "Not so good. No, not so good. Would you like me to get rid of them for you?" And he said, "Well, yes, can you do that?" He said, "Oh yes, I could get rid of them. You'll need to pay me." And they looked at each other and said, "Oh yes, we'll pay you. We'll have a whip round and we'll all contribute some money and pay you." And he said, "All right then." He said, I'll get rid of them. I'll get rid of them right now if you like." And he said, "Oh yes, please." So, taking his pipe, he began to play. And as he played, out from the houses, out from the tree, behind the trees round the green, came rats. Lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of rats. And the Pied Piper, with his pipe, started to walk away from the village green, and he was followed by a multitude of rats. He went over the little bridge over the stream. He went past the church, past the little town hall, past a few houses, back to the river bank, and he stood by the river bank playing, and these rats, like lemmings, rushed into the water, and they were carried away, swept away by the stream, never to return. He came back to the village green, where he was greeted by a large applause from all the villagers, who said, "Oh, thank you so much. Fantastic. You've rid our houses of the rats." And he said, "You're welcome. I said I would do that. Now, I think there's a little matter of payment." And the villagers looked at one to the other, and they looked at their feet, and they sort of shuffled rather awkwardly. And one of the villagers stepped forward and said, "No, sorry, actually we're not going to pay you, so be on your way." He said, "Excuse me? What do you mean you're not going to pay me?" And they sort of looked rather guiltily at each other and said, "Well, you've got rid of the rats, and we're not going to pay you. Sorry." And they felt a wee bit pleased with themselves because they felt they'd got one over on the Pied Piper. And they all went back into their houses and shut the doors, leaving the Pied Piper alone on the village green. That night, the village was asleep. It was a clear night. There was a full moon. There was silence. Until, if you had been awake, you would have heard the Pied Piper was walking around the village green, playing his pipe. The children were also asleep, but into their dreams filtered this tune, and really without waking up, almost sleepwalking, the children got up, opened the doors to their houses, and came out into the green, onto the green, and they started to follow the Pied Piper. And they went round the green, over the little bridge, past the church, past the little town hall, and then up the hill which overlooked the village. And at the top of the hill there was a cave, and in front of the mouth of the cave there was a huge boulder, a really big stone. And the Pied Piper stood by the entrance to the cave playing his pipe, and the children, as if in a dream, went in to the cave. All apart from one child who had tripped over the day before and had rather a sore leg and had trouble keeping up. So by the time she got to nearly the entrance to the cave, the Pied Piper had, using one finger, had pushed the huge boulder covering the entrance, covering the mouth of the cave, and shutting the children inside. So this little girl couldn't get in, and she saw what had happened, and without the Pied Piper seeing her, she went back down the hill to the village, and she stood in the middle of the green, and she shouted, "Wake up! Wake up, parents! Wake up, everyone! The children have gone! The Pied Piper has magicked them away! Wake up, everyone!" And she started to clap her hands to wake the parents up. And gradually and sleepily, the parents opened windows and looked out onto the green and said, "What on earth are you doing? What's all this racket? Do you know what the time is?" And the little girl said, "Go to your children's rooms, have a look, they're not there anymore. The Pied Piper has taken them. They've followed the Pied Piper just like the rats did." The parents did as she suggested, and very shortly afterwards the doors opened and they came out and they all gathered in the green and said, "Well, where are the children? Where are they? Where has he taken them?" And the little girl said, "Follow me, I know where they are." So quite slowly, because of her sore leg, the little girl led them over the bridge, past the church, past the little town hall, and up the hill to where the boulder was in front of the mouth of the cave, and she said, "They're in there." And the parents went up to the boulder and they shouted through into the cave, "Hello? Hello, are you in there, children?" And they could hear, "Yes, yes, we're in here, help, help." Try as they might, pushing all together, they could not move this boulder. And yet the little girl had seen the Pied Piper with one finger push it into place. And as they were all heaving and pushing and thinking, well, how can we move this boulder and get our children back? Who should appear but the Pied Piper, who said, "Oh, hello." And they said, "Our children, you've taken our children, you've kidnapped our children." And the Pied Piper said, yes, I did actually, because you didn't pay me for getting rid of the rats. You promised you would pay me and you didn't. And the villagers said, "Oh, we were wrong, we're sorry. Please, can you help us move this great big boulder out of the way so we can get our children back, and then we'll pay you." And the Pied Piper said, "Well, I'm going to believe you. I'm going to trust you, because now you see what I can do. So if you don't pay me this time, who knows what'll happen the next time." Playing his pipe with one hand this time, and with one finger, the Pied Piper pushed the stone out of the way, and the children came rushing out to be embraced by their parents, and they all went back down to the village. The children went back into their beds, and the parents went into their purses and into their where they kept their money under their beds. And before they went back to bed, they gathered on the green and they paid the Pied Piper and said thank you. And the Pied Piper bowed and put his pipe in his pocket and left the village, going across the little bridge and past the church and past the village hall and up the hill and off down the other side. And the next morning, when all the villagers woke up, it was a lovely sunny day, and they all went out onto the green with the children, with no rats in sight. And one of them said, "Well, I think we've learned a lesson here, haven't we?" The others nodded. Yes. If you promise to do something, do it. All right, everyone. That's the end of our story for today, The Pied Piper of Hamelin. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you're having a good time wherever you are. Let's give ourselves a little butterfly flap, and a penguin clap, and a very fast scissor clap, and finally a clap. I've been practicing. Well done, everyone. See you soon.